It's official. The recording is under progress. We're keeping a timer today to try and keep it under 4 hours for
Oh
everyone
my
out there.
gosh, for 1 hour. We're doing 1 hour.
We're gonna try to keep it to an hour. So hope everyone had a great Labor Day weekend, fun filled, relaxation, and all that good stuff. We've Bitcoin prices in the dumps.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, yeah. It's
if
always something.
if I had any money left over, I'd buy some
I
more.
know.
Yeah.
I get annoyed when it dumps because I'm like, I wish I had some more money to buy some.
I've already spent it all on
I
it.
know. I spent it all on it when it was high.
Maybe take
Uh,
some profits and buy low just to buy something.
no, because then it'll just dump lower. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I guess it's those September doldrums have officially begun. I mean, I think that if we're going to comment at all on price, it's probably till the election, right?
hmm
Probably we're gonna kind of see some clarity. I mean, I think it's gonna go up a little bit before then, but
hmm
there's just too much uncertainty, and it's just so tied to Wall Street now. I think in a lot of
Yeah. I
ways.
mean, well, there's a big percentage of it tied to Wall Street, and so it hasn't been acting as a leading indicator or anything. It's just kind of moving along with it, and Nvidia dumped,
Yeah,
and yada yada. But Nvidia is just like, whatever. It'll dump and then it'll shoot back up, and same thing. I try to never try to time the market. That's Here's the rule.
right.
Not your keys, not your cheese, and don't time the market. Okay.
Just DCA baby all the
Yeah,
way.
DCA. Just
Yeah,
do like Sailor, okay?
yeah.
Yeah.
Just it's gonna go up. It doesn't matter where you get in, right? So
Exactly, exactly.
the yeah, I one of the things that I did notice a piece of news over the weekend was a bank. I don't know if it was Chase or one of the other big banks. They were like, "Oh, they found some glitch."
Oh yes, yes, it was Chase. It was
It,
Chase.
it was Chase.
Yeah,
People
I
were
saw
taking
that and
out.
I didn't know what they were doing. And I saw like a bunch of it on because I'm usually not on TikTok, but I get emails. So I happened to click on the TikTok email and I saw everyone doing this stuff. And I'm like, I just figured it was another challenge. And it just happened to be in front of a Chase ATM. People were whatever, but it's like, dude, you're so dumb. Like, this is fiat. Yes, they make mistakes, but they get to erase, go reverse, and now I've seen people that are like negative 30,000. And they're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, well, you thought you just got free money? You know,
Yeah.
I have no idea how the glitch works. Do you know how it worked?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't even bother because I didn't want to be tempted to go try it. Yeah,
Well,
that's the thing is like, the banks they're in it for themselves, right? I mean, like it's your money up to a point, and yes, the glitch allowed you to kind of pull out money that
mhm,
wasn't yours, which I suppose if you have a moral compass or kind of a good ethics of some sort,
mhm.
you wouldn't have done. But the reality is that at the end of the day, they're saying that's wire fraud.
Yeah.
Some of the more egregious cases, I would not be surprised if they kind of,
Oh yeah.
kind of go after people, prosecute them
Because that's a
potentially.
lot
Not
of money. Like the one I
Yeah,
saw, 30,000.
and that's just one person, right?
That's one person. Yeah.
Yeah. So, more
And
reasons.
that's the irony with the whole Bitcoin ATM scams and all that, because it's like you watch the news and they're just like, oh gosh, Bitcoin ATMs are so scammy. It's like, no, it's in actuality, it's reverse. Like the
Yeah.
scammers are scammy, but they're getting used to use the Bitcoin ATM because Bitcoin is transaction finality.
Right.
Once you send it, there's no do backs. There's no rollbacks, and so that's the irony of it is they get a bad reputation for their positive property because
Right.
scammers want transaction finality. They don't want you to be able to roll anything back. Oh Lord.
Meanwhile, banks are causing a ruckus and making sure they get theirs, and
Yep.
we're out here trying to make sure we keep ours
hmm
safe, right? So,
Yep.
TAFU, something that isn't hasn't been said in a while. I don't see that term so much anymore. We see the hodl, but not the SAFU so much. Yeah, so as part of our ongoing series and just kind of interest and kind of interest in sharing info, we're always on the lookout for, kind of things that are gonna kind of kind of low friction entries,
Hmm.
right, into self custody. And we've touched on a lot of stuff, some concepts, and I think that we've got a really good one today. It's a really cool piece of hardware,
Hmm.
friendly, and it's not only is it self custody, but it's an intro. I mean, I would very comfortably call it an intro to multisig, right? I
Hmm.
mean, it very much is. It's
But you would never even know. That's the key. Like you wouldn't even know
right.
it was multi-sig because they abstract and hide all that complexity from the user. The user just knows it's easy, you know.
Yeah, and there it is, right? We
Here
have
it
one in front of you.
is, which is so funny because it's like, why'd you make it look like a rock? Like, like you could just skip. Oh, see, look, it's red because I put the wrong finger on it. But if I do
Oh,
my thumb, see? Oh wait,
it's
so my
also right.
is it this thumb? Yeah, there you go. Now it's green.
I'm glad it worked.
I know, right? It worked. So, okay, so here's the thing with the big key before we get into it and why we're talking about the big key. So the big key is by block. All right, this is Jack Dorsey. This is the maker of Cash App. This is the maker of Square. Okay, so everyone knows Cash App is legendary for so simple, easy to use. Anyone who's a merchant knows Square is just so easy, dumbed down. Everyone uses it for a reason, because it's so simple, it's clean, and they have a nice little interface, and it's just friendly. So what Jack wanted to do with Block, I won't say Jack, let's say Block. They wanted to make a self-custodial wallet that was as easy as Cash App. Now, the minute I read that, I was like, if it was anyone else, I'd be skeptical, because again, we talk about it.
Right.
Hardware wallets, self-custody is by its very nature has some inherent complexity, because you got a pin, okay? Most people pins stress them out. And then you got a seed plate, okay? What is that? And you have to make sure you have a backup. And
Right.
now Jack comes in and he's like, look, I'm gonna make a wallet as easy as Cash App. I'm like, dude, if anyone could do it, y'all can, right? I don't know how you're gonna do it. And lo and behold, 6 months later, when I first read the comprehensive blog post on the product, I was actually a beta tester. This was free. It says for development purposes only. So I got sent one. I was one of the beta testers because I was like, dude, I'm interested. Like, dude, like
Yeah,
I love to see how it works. And
seriously.
when you get it, it really is exactly what they claim. Like you literally download the wallet, right? And then of course this is the old, most of us remember the fingerprint scanner. You have to press your thumb up and down 4 or 5 times and the
Right.
light's blue. And they're like, do that, train your finger till it turns green. All right, you're done. All right. And then with the wallet, you open it up, you tap the thing to the back of the phone.
Now, just to be clear, you download the wallet onto your phone, correct? Yeah.
Yes, you download the wallet onto your phone.
Right.
So after you download the wallet on your phone and you say, hey, I'm setting up a new wallet, it just, has a little pretty picture, says, okay, tap the bit key to the phone. You do that and you're done pretty much. It does ask you for an email. And the reason why it has you for an email is for, we'll get to that, for eventual, recovery services. But all in all, you don't even actually need that. Like it literally is just one step. And now what you don't see in the background, right? And again, this is why my mom, my sister, like they don't need to know all this, right? They have no idea that they just entered into a custodial multi-sig, just like Casa and Unchain, and I believe Swan does it too. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So basically it's a 2 of 3. All right. The phone wallet that you downloaded, that's key number 1. All right. So it's a hot wallet. It's a hot key because it's on your phone. The
Right.
second key is the device. All right. And the third key is on their servers, so block in their servers is the third key. So there it is, 2 of 3. So you have your Bitcoin, you have mobile key, hardware key, and server key. Now, if we just pause real quick and just talk about this setup in general, because this is not an abnormal thing, okay? This
Right.
is very common, again, with Casa, Unchained, and several other providers. And there's a lot of power to that. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring up the Bitkey was really as an opportunity to talk about something that's really important when you talk about wallets is trade-offs. What
Hmm.
are the trade-offs you're making? And that's the key word,
Right.
trade-off. A lot of people get into this binary, like that's good, that's bad, but I always like try to warn people, don't
Yeah.
ever think things good and bad, because it's all relative to what you need, what's important to you.
Right.
And that's why I want to talk about it in context of trade-offs. But regardless, any other multi-sig like this is going to require a lot more work, because that's the other thing I didn't notice. I didn't mention. After you set this up with your little rock, right? You're rocking your phone, you're done. There is no seed backup. There's no even mention of seed backup. They don't even mention SegWit, Taproot, Legacy. They just create a SegWit address for you. Just boom, done. Don't even ask you. You don't even have the option. All right. You can't see your UTXO, completely abstracted. It's super clean. Here, scroll up to the interface. It's one of the, I think it was the second picture. Yeah, well, there, yeah. Super clean. Looks just like Cash App.
Yeah.
You know, you,
Yeah.
you you could tap the amount and convert it between sats and dollars. You can buy Bitcoin right within the app, and it'll do it either from Coinbase, it'll do it from Cash App, it'll do it through MoonPay, and it'll actually show you transparency, the price, the final price. And that's very hard. Any of you guys know it's really hard to compare apples and oranges because everything's kind of hidden, until the very end.
Right.
Here you could see up front. Like I bought $20 recently. I was just doing something, and I saw that Coinbase was cheaper than Cash App. I was like, well, that was weird, And then later I started typing in different amounts, like $100. Well, then Cash App was cheaper, obviously a lot cheaper than Coinbase, And
That's
I
so
think
weird.
I don't remember what amount I typed in, but one of them, MoonPay, was the cheapest, by a couple thousand sats. I mean, this is all very trivial amounts, but everything's transparently there. So as soon as this came out, the Bitcoiners were all just kind of like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like if this wasn't Jack Dorsey doing this, it would be met with a lot of skepticism. Because here you have a self-custodial wallet, right? Where there's no backups, no seeds. All right. First of all, how does that work? Second of all, there's no screen. There's no screen on this. All right.
Right.
There's no PIN code. It's just fingerprint. And you can enroll multiple fingerprints, so you can do your wife's fingerprint, your fingerprint, whatever. But once you start getting into the technology, and that's, I think, what we're going to get into now very slowly. And again, as you get into it, discuss about the trade-offs. Like, why is this very good versus why this may not be for you? I don't think anyone can say this is bad. Like, even the most ardent critics I've seen on Twitter are like, like this has compromises I think are unacceptable. Okay, well, like, yeah, they're unacceptable for you, but
Yeah. Right. That's your opinion on the compromises.
yeah, exactly. What about your mama? Like, like what about, and I think I mentioned it in the first show, our very first episode, where I had just finished sort of like onboarding like my best friend who's very technical. He's a programmer. He like does web design for a living, and he was completely overwhelmed just by having to memorize a pin. Like
Right.
that was just like, because and it wasn't that he was too dumb or whatever. His whole thing is, look, I just don't have the capacity in my brain for this. Like I just want a wallet and I just want it to be safe and I don't want it to be on the exchange, which that's really who this is geared towards. Like this is why I say this is like the number one wallet I feel like people could recommend for like step number one, get off
Right.
the exchange.
Right.
If you want to get off the exchange, you can still buy your Bitcoin from Coinbase, from the app or Cash App, whatever. But if you just want to get to a self-custodial state, start with an app like this because it's
But
stupid
and
simple.
yeah, absolutely. And so I want to make 2 points. Is that one, your friend, highly technical person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Software engineer, right?
Mm-hmm.
For all intents and purposes. And it was like basically it's important to remember that when you're going to do self custody, you are essentially trying to supplant the role that banks have in our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is no small task. I mean, that's
Yes.
they play a huge role in a lot of ways nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, even before, I mean, loans and accounts and deposits and you name it, right? All sorts of different financial instruments that are all made to help you, but
Mm-hmm.
to make them money, right?
Yep.
And things as a pin and where do I use and keys and all that. I mean, every single aspect of what a Bitcoiner has now kind of come to know and understand is a lot to overcome for a newbie. It's a
Yep.
lot to overcome. And really, as I've been doing my research on the Bitkey, it seems like that compromise between having a bank and having financial sovereignty is kind of being met in the middle by the Bitkey in a lot of ways,
Yep.
where they hold the one of three, and
Mm-hmm.
you always have one, right? You have either your phone or the device,
Mm-hmm.
so nothing can be moved unless there's two out of three in the most kind of basic configuration, which I think is the only configuration at this point.
Yeah, it's the
But
only
you always have a
configuration.
key. They have a key, and then there's technically you should have two, right? And then
Yeah.
and but it's this is a really really cool device. I could see something like, okay, this is maybe what I should give to my nieces and nephews, right?
Yeah.
Like in or give something to somebody else to hold in case kind of situation, right? A number of different scenarios, and they really are bridging the gap. And I think the fact that the app looks so much like Cash App, you can
Mm-hmm.
buy, you can sell, and I think you're probably going to get into it too, but there's a lot of fine tuning that you can do as far as like spending amounts and
Mm-hmm.
putting different kind of scenarios in play that once you get more used to this device really allows for a lot of different scenarios, right? In a very easy to use, not only form factor, but conceptually. It's conceptual.
Yes.
It's the
Yeah.
UX. The
Conceptually,
UX, yeah.
well, because even before this wallet came out, I always use Cash App as an example for like that's where the fiat bar has been set, and the Bitcoin wallets were so far behind, because it's like a pleb could download Nunchuck, as beautiful as Nunchuck is, and still be very confused because
Mhm.
Nunchuck is a beautiful wallet. I love Nunchuck. It's probably the most powerful, the most robust Bitcoin wallet out there as far as features, right? But for a new user, they're looking at this like they don't know what keys are. They don't even know what even wallets are. And as soon as you give them all these drop down of what wallet to pick, I'm like, oh, this is great. I can customize my derivation path. And a user's like, me out because again, this is money. Nobody wants to screw up their money, so you
Right.
have to make it very familiar, and again, the screen is so familiar. Now there's obviously an obvious trade-off just looking at this screen, right? Because you have send, receive, and you could add. As far as adding, that add button is if you want to add Bitcoin to your wallet, so it automatically goes to the link where it says how much do you want to buy. But just this right here, someone could come and be like, well, I can't select which UTXOs I want to send. Okay, well,
Yeah.
regular people not going to be
Yeah.
concerned with
Yeah.
UTXOs.
Right.
Most Bitcoiners don't even really understand what UTXOs are. Like this is just like handling your whole balance for you, and it really is yours. That's the key. Like it, all of these partially custodial solutions where you have one key with a custodian, they can't do anything with one out of three, obviously, because they don't have a majority quorum. You need at least two out of three. They're just there in case you need them.
Right.
You can never need Bitkey server to ever sign a transaction because you always have your two. But
Hmm.
if you do need them because you lost your keys, and we'll get into, or you're freaking out, or or just recently I reset my phone, and I did a complete factory restore, re-downloaded the wallet, and sure enough, Bitkey was like, I opened it up and I said restore wallet, just like I said. I tapped the key, boom, balance showed up. Like it
Done.
was that simple. Like
Yeah.
nothing is that easy usually.
Yeah, you're right. And specifically with Bitcoin, I mean, like, again, we're early, right? We're early. The
Mhm.
tech is there, there's plenty to do, but it's a very niche kind of endeavor, just in
Yep.
general, right? Like, it's not only financial, it's very tech heavy. The terminology, the jargon is
Hmm.
horrible for like
Hmm.
a layperson to come in and be like, a UTXO, is that even an abbreviation? Like,
Yep.
derivation path, like that. I mean, you can literally sit there as a person who's never touched a Bitcoin wallet for weeks and still not really have a full grasp
Yep.
of what's going on.
Which is why again they went, because Bitkey on the website. If you go to it on a computer, it's easier to find. And you click through the links, you should find where you get to their blog posts. And their blog posts were cool because you get to read as they built the dang thing, as they walk through. Yeah, highlighted posts. If you go through all these posts from the beginning, it's cool because you get to walk through why they made every decision they did, and they write a very comprehensive write up as to why. Like even the pin, they agonize. Like, well, should we even do a pin? Because people aren't generally familiar with that, and the pins they are familiar with on our phones and our ATMs are very insecure anyways, and so
Right.
it's like it's probably best where we keep things really simple, because even if you have a screen on your device, you still have to know what to do. You have to know what a Bitcoin address is. You have to verify, you have to read and go back and forth, which most people don't do because they're
Right.
lazy. So they're like, look, we're going to abstract that away because you're already trusting the piece of software on your phone, and most people don't even know it's very difficult, if not impossible, to truly validate the binary of an app that's running on your iPhone, because Apple makes it just so difficult, so just that whole decision process, they walk you through like why they made, that particular decision, because they knew everybody could handle this. I mean, maybe eventually there'll be a camera in there and you just look at it and then it'll unlock just like, most of our phones do.
Yeah, this is th I see this, and this is really feeling like one of those big steps that maybe is not being seen for what it is just yet.
Hmm.
I think part of it too is that there just aren't that many Bitcoiners. Like, I mean, there are people coming on, but as it gets more recognition going on, there's going to be, I think, more interest in it, even more interest, I should say, right? And then you get to the, okay, well, I want to have Bitcoin, and then you start learning about the exchanges and why you
Hmm.
shouldn't, and why you should do this. And this is honestly the Bitkey to date for me. This feels like it's the most the most seamless way of getting off of an exchange. And I and,
Hmm.
and I think the reason that people stay on exchanges is not because they don't want to have custody, is because it's so damn complicated,
Yeah.
right? And just like all the nerds and all the geeks, and we can really dig into the weeds, the novice goes, I'm lost. I throw my hands up and I don't want to do it. Like, it's nerve wracking. I don't really fully understand what I'm doing to
Hmm.
transfer. And then they come along, these guys, really nice hardware. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not endorsing them by any means, but I
Hmm.
mean, it's a relatively easy product to get into, right? I mean,
Hmm.
what was this, like less than $100, I think, right? To the
Yeah,
bit.
no, well, it's 150. It was, oh my gosh. There was a glitch on the website, like, I don't know, like a month ago, and people were posting left and right that it was being listed for 25 bucks. And some people were like, we're seeing it for 50 bucks. So I immediately went to my phone and I went to it, and sure enough, it showed for $49. And then I went to my computer. My computer was showing it for $99. And then I went and I'm reading the comments on Twitter. People were like, dude, try Chrome on your phone. So then I went to Chrome on my phone, and it was 20 bucks. And I immediately bought one because I'm like, is this even real? And I bought one and it shipped the next day, and I sold it to my brother-in-law, like he bought it off me because I already had one. He bought it off me for 25 bucks because, I had to pay tax and everything.
Right,
But generally speaking, it's adequately priced at 149 in general, unless it's
right.
Black Friday sales, which is just the right price point you want to be at, really.
Yeah, I agree. I
Ideally
mean,
99, hopefully, but it's all about volume, you
right.
know.
So it's at 150 right now. And not for nothing, but the hardware it's I mean, the ease of use,
Yeah.
it makes it a kind of a semi-premium product, right?
Oh yeah, it feels very premium. The build, I mean, this thing is solid. I mean, it's like a hard ceramic brush metal back. It's heavy. It's heavier than any other. It weighs as much as the Q almost with batteries. Like it's very, well, maybe not as much as the Q, but it's very hefty, because it's got I haven't even charged it ever. I charged it up, it's been like a year, so obviously it maintains its charge. It doesn't have a screen or anything, so it only uses battery when you touch it and the light turns on.
Right.
So it's USB-C, so.
Very easy, like very recognizable, right?
And
The top.
again,
Yeah.
they made it a rock because they're like, look, we want to stress psychologically that this isn't something you should carry around. You don't carry around a rock in your pocket, so you don't carry around a hardware wallet in your pocket. So they're like, this is something that people will instinctively be like, well, this doesn't look like something I should just keep with me, you know? Oh,
Right.
no, it shouldn't. You know, you should keep this in a safe deposit box, keep it somewhere. Obviously, we've already said, me and Benny, somewhere geographically not in the same location as your home, because the last thing you do is want, you know, thieves breaking in your home, stealing your safe, and you're like, even though you'll be fine because you still have a key on your phone, you know, and you can get the what's it called, the server to sign a transaction, so
Right.
you're not, you know, SOL on that front. But we'll we'll get into that in a second. But the biggest thing is, if you're a subscriber and you're listening to, you know, our YouTube podcast, this one's probably not for you because you probably already have enough knowledge to go beyond that, you know, but it's definitely for loved ones. Or if you're someone who's just getting into the space and you're listening to us and you're just learning and you're a bit overwhelmed, this is probably a good stepping stone. Like,
Right.
you know what? Just get off the exchange, get one of these, and then plan in 6 months to migrate to maybe something more robust as you get more comfortable in your knowledge level, to get to a cold card, a Trezor, a Jade, you know, a Passport, whatever.
Right. No, that's a really good point. And it's all about just like it is like for compromises, it's
Mm-hmm.
all about kind of transitioning right into a comfort level. Like what's your comfort level with those compromises? And and not just the compromises, but you know, your willingness to be proactive in your self-custody, right? This
Mm-hmm.
is gonna be good once you know all the ins and outs, and then you start playing with, you know, Sparrow Wallet and a cold card. It's gonna feel like, okay, maybe it's time to jump, right? So whatever the case may be, but you did touch on a really good point that you know, you lose the card, it gets stolen, you still have your phone. But just like you have the different keys on your phone and the rock and the server, uh you can have, they can have different functions as well, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
not just for keys. So you can set like limits, is that right, for each
Oh, yeah.
device?
So before we get into the underlying mechanics, the one major feature they added was, yes, the limit thing, because they knew that they wanted this to be safe for, you know, a high volume, you know, and so that's why you need a hardware wallet, and you definitely don't want to keep it with you. But what about small spending? You know, what if you're at like the little Bitcoin meetup and you just want to buy a burger with sats or use a drink? Well, they're like, well, then people can't use it because it's not like they're going to run home and get the hardware wallet. So they implemented a spending policy. Now it's a feature you can turn on, and it could be up to $200. That actually has a max limit. You know, I set mine to like whatever, $50. So what it does is you can set a daily limit, let's say $50. And that means every day you could spend up to $50 without having your hardware wallet, you
Mhm,
know. Now, how
mhm.
does that work? Because you sign one with your phone, that's one key, and the Bitkey server will sign the other one. So that's how you have a two out of the three. Now that's still protection, because if you suddenly get robbed or someone steals your phone, they're never going to have access to anything more, assuming they can get into your phone and get past your biometrics or whatever. They're never going to be able to withdraw more than $50.
Right.
So your large stash is secure. You know,
Mhm.
a criminal needs to get a hold of your phone, and they need to get a hold of the hardware key if they want to move your funds.
Or to change the limits, right?
Yes, but even so, the limit is it's a hard limit at 200. It doesn't go past
Oh,
200.
okay.
So you
Okay.
can't like, you know, go all the way to 10,000 and do your whole stack or whatever it is
Yeah.
and make it so you don't need the hardware wallet. It's a hard limit at $200.
Which is really nice. I mean, that's a really neat feature. That's a really neat feature.
And I've used it a lot. Like I've used it because again, I'd be at a Bitcoin meetup, or you know, what's it called? Or I'm just want to do something, you know, and there's a lightning invoice or whatever. I can just use, well, you can't pay lightning with it yet, but that should be coming any day now, really, because obviously Cash App has one of the cleanest, nicest Bitcoin slash lightning wallets like Strike.
Right.
So I'm hoping they integrate that soon. But as of now, it's just Bitcoin only. I just want to clarify there.
Yeah. But so in order to change the policies or the kind of the whatever policies there are, or the rules, if you
Mhm.
will,
You need the
of the
hardware wallet. You
you need the
always need the
hardware
hardware.
wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be
Which
great too.
that leads us into the biggest question that we should probably answer first is how in the heck can you promote a self-custodial wallet with no backup? Because that's the number one thing we always tell you. Like because okay, look, in the real world, right? If you did a regular multi-sig with whatever, Casa or Unchained, and you had your phone as a hotkey, and then you had your cold card as a hardware wallet, and then you had them, and you had no backups, right? And you lost your cold card was destroyed, right? And you had no backup, you still be okay, right? Because you still have one and they could
Right.
sign the other one, right? So you still can move your funds and you could buy a new hardware wallet and set up a new one. But it's really easy. Again, there was a fire right up the street, house like completely burned down, like 2 streets away. It was an older couple. The older gentleman died. It was really sad, and but the lady and the dog survived. Whole house just burned down. But that's just an obvious scenario. If there's a fire, all you care about is getting you and your loved ones out of the house. In the meantime, guess what gets destroyed? Your phone and most likely your your hardware device. Well, then you have no backups because Bitkey's like, you don't need a backup. So you would think, okay, that's game over. And remember, this isn't a rare, I mean, it is a rare scenario, hopefully, but
Right.
this isn't a completely unheard of that
Right.
nobody
It's
is going
it's
to
it,
far fetch.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it happens daily, right?
It
People,
happens
yeah,
daily.
right,
So
right.
how do they deal with that? Well, first, let's tackle the most obvious is what happens if I lose my phone? That happens all the time. Not even losing your phone, but you drop your phone and it breaks, right? Or it drops into the toilet or in the pool and it's
Or
and it's totally damaged.
it gets
Does that
stolen, right? Like it's
or it gets stolen?
unusable, right?
Yeah, like does that mean you have to then move all your funds and go to a whole new multi-sig? No, it doesn't. So what the big key does is it relies on the existing security infrastructure that's already built into your life, your device. In the case of the iPhone, it utilizes your iCloud. If you're a Samsung, it uses your Google Cloud. Now, these things are very robust. I mean, people like Bitcoiners sometimes want to throw everything that's not, Bitcoin under the bus, right? It's like, no. iCloud, or if you're an iOS user, you have an iPhone, you have a very robust backup mechanism. You have an encrypted end-to-end encrypted between your phone and the cloud to back up all your data, right? Your photos and this and that. And so this is already kind of set up, right? It's already part of your what
Your
would you put it?
your kind of your tech
Your
ecosystem, if
digital
you will.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
your digital life. Yeah,
you're on your digital fingerprint that you've already accepted. Like even my mom doesn't know much about much, but she knows she has an iCloud email and she knows she has a password. That's all she needs to really know.
right, right.
And that's what she
Mhm.
needs in case she ever destroys her phone and gets a new one. She just types that in and all her contacts will come back and all your pictures, assuming you paid 99 cents to up from 5 GB minimum limit that they try to get out of you. So basically what the big key does is as soon as you start the wallet and you tap it to the iCloud, it uses the key from your hardware wallet, right? It uses a key from the hardware wallet to encrypt a copy of your wallet backup. Basically like your seed, your digital seed, right? Digital version of your wallet. It's encrypted by a key inside the hardware wallet. And then that is backed up to your iCloud. So in a sense, you have double encryption, right? Now, from a criminals are just regular burglars. They're screwed, because they're going to have to defeat the iOS security.
Right.
And even if they get the file, it's encrypted. They can't do anything with it. From a government perspective, it's not double security. Maybe it's single security because maybe the IRS or, whoever it is, whatever country you're in, they can compel Apple or whatever to force them to give up this file, right? Your wallet backup. But all they're going to get is an encrypted data file that no one can access unless they have your hardware wallet. So that's why it's so easy to restore when the phone is lost. Because literally, like I said, I did it. Like you just downloaded it and I said recover, and it already has access to my iCloud. It already sees the encrypted backup file. And as soon as I tap that little rock to my phone, boom, it decrypts the wallet backup and it has the key back. So I didn't lose anything. So it was so painless.
Yeah.
And they don't tell you anything scary on the screen, like, hey, you just decrypt. None of that.
Yeah.
From a user perspective, it's just like, oh, okay, this makes sense. You
It
know,
works.
it just sort of works, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like just please do it for me and
Yeah.
give me access to my funds. It's like the ATM card. I'll give you a pin. Granted, it's not a perfect
Mhm.
analogy, but I'll give you a pin if you give me my money, kind of thing, right? It's like I'll show you
Exactly.
the rock if you give me access to my Bitcoin, right?
Because again, there's no pins, logins, there's no KYC. Technically, you have to give an email, but you can give a Proton email. It could be totally anonymous, you know, or whatever. You could do hide my email from Apple, or, you know, or use some third party service. Nothing has to be linked. There's no KYC, there's no social security or anything like that to get this set up. It's just an email address. And it doesn't have to be your personal email address, it just has to be an email address that you have access to. Now, for the regular person, they're just going to use their Gmail or whatever, you know, and that's fine, you know. So the second thing is, what about the hardware wallet? All right. What happens if that gets stolen or
Right.
lost? Like, first of all, if anyone gets a hold of this, they're not going to get much, right? It's still got a good fingerprint sensor. And
Right.
assuming they bypass the fingerprint sensor, which, you know, is feasible nowadays, because that's why everyone stopped using fingerprint sensors, is because you could still bypass them. You know, you get the right stuff and then you get a copy of your print and then you put it on some
Like Scotch
latex,
tape or
yeah,
something.
Scotch tape or glue, and then you
Yeah.
put it on your thumb and boom, you can bypass it. Still, you're going to get nowhere, you know, because without that. Now, if you do lose the hardware wallet key, again, you don't have to reset your wallet, you don't have to move funds, because that would be painful for a user, right? All you have to do is just go to the app and say, I lost my hardware wallet. And then what Bitkey does is they institute a lock time. All right, for 7 days. Right now it's set to 7 days. So for 7 days, you are basically, you just have to wait before Bitkey will allow you to buy a new one. Because basically, if you lose this, you just have to order a new one from Bitkey. But they won't let you do that for 7 days. Now, why do they make you wait 7 days? That's kind of bizarre.
In
Well,
case
for
you find
seven,
it, or
yeah, well,
you
in case
retrieve
you
it. Yeah.
find it,
Yeah.
or more importantly, what if it wasn't you who started this whole timer?
Right.
You know, what if some attempt by a burglar or a thief or someone who's bamboozling you started this whole process, you know, said, oh, hey, you know, they got into your app. I lost my hardware wallet. You got to send me a new one. Well, for 7 days, Bitkey's going to send you emails. They're going to send you a text message if that's applicable in your country. And the email or the text message is going to be like, hey, a recovery period started. There's 6.5 days left. Was this you? You know, basically giving you an opportunity to verify that it was you. Now, it's not a positive, it's actually a negative. So if you don't do anything, it'll go through. So it's more like, if it wasn't you, you just click no, it wasn't me sort of button or
Right.
text, you
Right.
know, and that sort of cuts that off. So now again, you've raised the bar against an attacker. So it's not enough for an attacker to break into your safe and get your hardware wallet, right? They need to also get access to your phone, you know, and if they do get access to your phone and they don't have your hardware wallet because you have it locked in the safe deposit box, it's not so simple as just to get in there and hit, ooh, I want to send me a new one, you know, like, no. Because then they're going to have to break into your email. They're going to have to break into your, you know, do a SIM swap. They're going to have to cut off all these other avenues of communication that you have, that every regular person has. So that is how, again, it's kind of a novel, simple way. Now, a regular user may be kind of confused by this in the sense of, I don't know why I gotta wait 7 days, you know,
Right.
but yeah, they'll get over it. Like, you know,
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, I guess this is almost like when you're doing the multi-sig, it's like a shared custody, right? And so
mhm,
like they kind of become the parent in a way, right? Like, well,
yep,
you need to wait. And the whole like the verifying, like you said, doing the negative instead of the positive, right? Like if you
Mhm.
didn't do any, we've all seen those emails. If this wasn't you, you can disregard this,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's what it
Right.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
so
usually we
it's a
disregard
very
it. We're like, yeah, I just reset my password. Like,
yeah.
stop annoying me. You annoyed me. I have to delete an email. But really, we're not annoyed. We're like, that's good.
That's a good
I
thing,
like that.
right?
You know.
And it's a very elegant solution. I mean, I will say that the logic, like the development logic behind this is is just kind of, it's like the silent success instead of the silent failure, if you will,
Hmm.
right? When as a developer you do something and something fails and you don't get a warning, you don't, something's broken but it's not working, you don't know what it is. In this case, it's the silent success. And even so far as like the, like again, the UX of it all, like you saying, like you mentioned earlier, you don't get some message saying, your keys restored or whatever. It's like they don't, the person using this
Hmm.
doesn't care. It just, at the end of the day, they just want it to work. And so,
Exactly.
and
And that's where it gets really cool, actually, because they took it a step further. Because again, you have no backups. Okay.
Mhm.
Meaning, again, regular people should have backups. Meaning, if they lose a key, it's not a big deal because you can just you buy, order a new one and put the seed phrase back in. When you have no backups, what happens again? Like there's a fire. What if there's a big situation where you lose both of your devices? Anyone who knows anything about multisig knows if you lose two out of your three keys, you're done. You're toast, right? Not with Bitkey. If there is a fire, I'll just use fire. We'll stick with fire. And my phone is destroyed and your hardware wallet is destroyed. If both of these are destroyed, you can still recover.
You can,
So as soon as I heard that, I was like, whoa, slow down, because this sounds kind of scammy. All
yeah,
right.
all of
Because
a sudden,
you
yeah.
said it was a 2 or 3, and y'all Bitkey only had one key, but if I lose two, they can still access it. Like someone's lying. Turns out, again,
The
very
iCloud.
clever, ingenious solution. Yeah. So they have something, it's optional and it does pop up on the when you set up the wallet, and you could do it then or whatever. They call it social recovery, and Apple actually does something similar if you turn on Apple's advanced recovery solution. And I think Breeze, not Breeze, Moon was planning on doing something similar. So basically what it is you pick someone that is a trusted person, your mom, right? Who's not in your home. Obviously, you don't want someone in the same house as you. So if you're married, do not choose your wife or your kid, right? You want completely separate house away from you. Because if there's a fire and everyone's stuff burns down, you don't want that to happen. Okay. So let's say it's your mom. And I call my mom and I'm like, hey, mom, I want to use you as a backup for my wallet. And she's like, okay, mijo, I don't know what you're talking about. Just tell me what to do. So I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm going to text you a link. And I put in my mom's number and she gets a link, from Bitkey. My mom clicks the link, it goes right to the app store. She downloads the app, right? When you download the Bitkey app, you don't have to set up a wallet. There's actually an option. Like, are you recovering or are you a backup for someone? I forgot how they
Oh,
phrase it. So
yeah.
my mom would just hit like, I'm a backup. My son just called me and told me this, and she basically, that's all she does. And she's done. She's done like the whole setup, and you never have to bother your mom, your cousin, your aunt, whoever it is again. It's that
Now,
simple.
this is when
You know,
you initialize, right?
this is the yeah. Well, this is after you
You
the
after everything's burnt down, basically.
yeah, well, hold on. You want to do this at one point. So you need to set this up,
Okay, okay.
otherwise if both keys burn down, you are going to be SOL. So I do recommend everyone that gets a Bitkey to do this. So my brother-in-law, who's super amateur, as soon as he got it, I said, okay, set up your recovery contacts. And he's like, what is that? And I told him, and then the wallet told him too. And he sent me a link, and since I already had a Bitkey wallet, I didn't have to do anything. I just clicked the link, and then in my wallet, it says, oh, now you're a recovery contact for whatever, my brother-in-law.
So,
And it was as simple as that. Now, this is, again, absolute backup of your backup, right? So ideally, you should never run into a situation, hopefully, where your house burns down and you lose, your phone and the key, and obviously you can buy a new phone, right? And you could still have that wallet backup, but now you don't have the hardware key to unlock your backup, right?
right, right.
So with the social recovery, basically what the Bitkey does is it makes another backup of your wallet file in your iCloud, in your Google Drive. But this one is encrypted by your recovery contact. So when I called my mom and she clicked that link and she downloaded the wallet and hit the button, she didn't know this, but what her wallet did is it sent a public key to my wallet. And remember, the public key is used just to encrypt stuff. That's it. And I took that public key, encrypted my wallet, and made a second wallet backup in the cloud. So if the situation arises where there's a house fire and I lose everything, I can buy a new phone. I go to T-Mobile and I get a new phone and I log in. And now I have two encrypted backups. The first one, obviously I can't do anything with because the wallet burnt. But the second one, all I gotta do is call my mom, or on the app, I say, hey, I need to use my social recovery, and what it does is it pops up with like a 6-digit code on my phone and it says, call your mom or whatever, call your contact or whatever.
Your recovery, yeah.
Yeah, so I call my mom and I'm like, hey mom, I need you to tap the app, open it up. I need you to type in this code, and she types in the code. It's very short. It's only 6 characters, like AJ264, whatever. She types it in. And as soon as she types it in, then basically what her wallet does is she releases the private key that her wallet generated and used just to help me encrypt my wallet backup. So her phone will send me that key, then I can then download from my iCloud, because I never want anyone to touch my wallet backup, and I can decrypt that wallet backup. And now I can be back to where I was if I just lost my hardware wallet. Now I have one key. I have my wallet hotkey, which means now I still got to wait 7 days. I got to do the 7-day wait period in order to order a new one. But
you're back on track at that point.
You're back on track. You're able to do full recovery. And what Bitkey does is, after that 7-day and you proved yourself and you order a new Bitkey and you set up a brand new wallet, right, with the new Bitkey. So your wallet will create a whole new private key. So you'll have a brand new 2 of 3 with your phone, with the Bitkey, and with the server. And that's the only transaction that the Bitkey server will sign, is to move all your funds to this new wallet that they know is valid and set up properly. So it's a really safe, it's really well thought out.
Right.
And like I said, for plebs, it's fairly bulletproof. Now, obviously, if you want to go full cypherpunk, like this is very robust against any type of burglar, thief, but it may be not as bulletproof against like a Justin Trudeau government going after you, but then again, even if like you were a trucker, in Canada during that whole debacle, the government could only, I don't even know if they could freeze. Technically, let's say they pressure Apple to freeze your iCloud.
Right.
You can't get access. Okay, well, that hurts you in the sense that if you lose one, but they have not stopped you from being able to spend your funds.
That's correct.
What if they pull you over and take your phone? Okay, well, you could still go to your safe place, get your hardware wallet, and you could download it on another phone or buy a new phone. You still got access to your funds.
Right.
Even if they come in your house with machine guns and they take your hardware wallet, as long as you still have your phone, you can still access your funds. They got to take everything from you.
Right.
And that's, again, if that is a real security threat, if you're, I like to call them what should we call them? Not cypherpunks, but a freedom lover, like if you're like a
freedom fighter.
If you got your homestead with 6 acres and a machine gun turret that comes up next to your house, if a laser sensor is set off, you may be someone that, wants this upper level of security. Maybe the Bitkey is not for you.
Right.
But if you live in a house in the city, you're just regular Joe Schmo, then by all means, Bitkey is a great wallet.
Yeah, I know that for those of us that don't have all the different kinds of camo, the the Bitkey might be sufficient. That's a really good just the elegance of it all. I can't help but just kind of think of it in that way. When you have the success after, especially we're in that scenario that you've just described, and kind of the paradigm that they're using is we already trust Apple or Google Play,
Hmm.
right? I mean, we have their emails. Gmail is like prolific,
Yep.
it's everywhere. iCloud, you trust it with everything, all
Hmm.
right? I mean, that
Hmm.
trust is already there, right? Your device, you're so used to it, you know that if you lose it, there's possible recoveries. It can get
Hmm.
stolen, but at least you have a
Hmm.
pin or whatever. Like there's a comfort level and there's assurances, so to speak, built in. The one thing that I will say is we haven't really talked too much about the server, right?
Oh yeah.
So is it sort of like kind of Jade's like Oracle kind of server? Is that, I mean, like it's kind
No,
of
no.
blind that way, or if someone says, I have a real concern over this third party deciding,
Hmm.
and granted, I have my own two keys, I can always use my two keys, but the moment I need to use that's
Hmm.
their server. How do we overcome the distrust, right? Or how can we verify that what we're that that we can count on them to do right by us, so to speak.
Right, right. Okay. So no, it's not blinded like the Jade Oracle server, because again, that's still in a whole different category, because that's not a shared custodial multisig. It's not that at all.
Right.
With
Right.
Jade, it's you're splitting your secret in two mathematically, and you're blinding it on a separate server. And you're doing all this because you can't trust the hardware on the Jade device, right? Because it's open, it's closed source, mixed open source. It's just not a secure. There's no secure element. That's different. Okay, so with this, we are guaranteed that they can't just run off with our funds, right? What we're not guaranteed in any way ever is if they may be compelled, to
Hmm.
possibly sign the transaction that we didn't authorize. That being, what if again, government comes in, they don't find your hardware wallet, right? But they get access to your phone and they scan your face, right? So they're in your wallet.
Right.
So they have one key. They could compel, obviously block against their will or use legal whatever, Patriot Act, to sign and then move your funds.
Right. Right.
But that's kind of less likely. Bigger is you do lose privacy, which you lose the same privacy with Casa or Unchained, because these servers or these entities know who you are, right?
The
And they
KYC.
know your ballots. Now with Block, it's a lot more blinded, way more blinded than Unchained or Casa, in my opinion, because all they really are requiring from you is, an email. So you can give them a Proton email address or something like that, right? But still, they can see through Apple, I mean, eventually they'll tie it to you. So they know your identity and they know your stack size. Therefore, the government could get access to that. Now, we'll hopefully block if they're a genuine player, or fight tooth and nail or against that, hopefully so, but that's always the risk with a majority of these custodial solutions. Now there are custodial solutions that don't do that. The one I mentioned was, I believe, the Nunchuck and the Liana wallet, both same thing, 2 of 3, where they have the third, but they do not require to have all your public keys and your wallet information. Therefore, they know nothing. All they are is holding a key for you. So they may be able to know that you have Bitcoin, but they don't know how much, they don't know your balance, and they sure as heck don't have access to it.
Which means that they can't help you as much, right?
True. That is
Right.
true. Yeah.
There's the redundancy that Bitkey has.
Well, yes. And like when you get to that point, because I think both of them do have an option. Like Liana does have an option where they will use a custodian to custody your wallet descriptor, right? Which that's the information you definitely don't want to lose, because then you can't, uh you can't send funds, right? That's what the custodian needs in order to sign, right? Because it's not enough to have a private key that you use in your multisig.
Right.
They need to have all 3 public keys, right?
Right. Right.
So they have an option where if you want to share that in case you die for inheritance purposes, pass
Okay.
that on. But again, that's optional.
Right.
Obviously by doing that, now there's a point of failure, not for losing your funds, but for fully revealing your, let's say your non-KYC stack. Like, here's all the Bitcoin you worked really hard to be off grid, and now they compelled someone who you were trusting to hold it for you in case of an emergency to reveal your identity and link it to your stack size.
Right.
Not access, but you lost privacy.
Right. That valued pseudonymity that we
Yes.
all that we,
So, but again, and that's really why I want to talk about this on this episode. Believe it or not, the focus of this whole episode, if you've been listening, is not even about Bitkey. I was just using Bitkey as an example.
Mhm.
And as we talked about the Bitkey, trying to make you understand, this is how it is with every wallet. We could do the same thing with, with the cold card, we could do the same thing with the Jade. We can do the same thing with the Kobo wallet,
The
with the Arc,
foundation, whatever.
Foundation Passport, with Arculus. You can go in and you can find out, okay, what trade-offs am I making, and is it okay for me? And to answer that question, like back to the beginning, for mom and pop, like, yes, it's okay. They're not, they're not trying to hide from, not so much hide, but they're not worried about that level of privacy, at
Right.
all,
Right.
and so this is more than adequate for them.
And I think that there's like a spectrum, right, of comfort, right,
Mhm.
with the trade-offs. Just like when you have something that's air gapped and seated, that's the trade-off that you're willing to make. It's a very minimal amount of
Mhm.
trade-off. On this, might not be 100%, but there's more trade-offs that you're willing to take. And it all depends on whatever you prioritize as an
Mhm.
individual, right? Is whether it's stack size, it's the
Mhm.
privacy, whether it's inheritance, whether it's limit spending, time locks, whatever the case may be that works for you. Which
And they
is
are going to add inheritance, by the way. Yes. I applied to be a beta tester. They haven't released it, but I know it's going to be super cool, which that's, again, make it super simple. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but it's probably going to be super clean and yet secure. So you die, your loved ones can figure out what to do, whether it's a quorum of them doing keys or something, but that is probably coming. It's in beta right now. I'm just waiting for them to release some details, but probably within a year, Bitkey will have a full inheritance solution. So that'll be
wow.
great.
That's exciting. That's really, really, especially like right now where we're still I mean, they're going to be pushing the edge of that, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's becoming more and more prominent, the inheritance stuff. And
Hmm.
we already know the disaster that people can encounter if you're not
Oh
prepared for
yeah.
that. And
Oh
so
yeah.
that's a huge deal. I look forward to that coming out, playing with it a little bit more. Honestly,
Hmm.
I think I'm gonna go broke, man, over the course of our because I want a Bitkey now so bad. You've been hyping it up, and now that we've kind of done this deep dive, it really sounds like it's just, and it's a really cool. It's a cool device, right? I
Yeah,
mean, just
it's well made, and the app is just, yeah,
clean,
it's
familiar.
clean, it's familiar. Everything about it is just so stupid simple. Like that's kind of like the key, which
It's
for someone
good.
like me, it's like I like it because it's novel, but me, I like all the fine-tuned controls. I'm fine with, again, something like Nunchuck, which Nunchucks come a long way, but still is nowhere near, the Cash App experience, so you have to kind of gauge that because, again, there's always huge trade-offs, and for me, it's like, what? Me being able to not choose whether I want Legacy, Segwit, or Taproot, like that's unspeakable, But for everyone else, like, dude, they don't like just. I
It's
just want to make a wallet,
yeah,
okay?
yeah.
I
No,
just
that's
want it to be
great.
backed up. I want it to be safe.
I want it to be safe. I wanted to have access and make sure that there's some redundancy in there, right?
Now,
And
once they get a hold of Frost, that's going to be really exciting.
so if you've liked this episode, you like what we're doing here, please give us a like, give us a subscribe, share. Leave a comment. Even Robert's comments are welcome at this point still. I saw he left us a comment,
Robert,
but
if you're listening, you can leave comments.
all the comments. Well, there you have it. Bitkey, the rundown, trade-offs, right? It's all about the
Trade-offs.
trade-offs. Cool hardware, spending limits, redundancy, kind of familiar security, familiar app interface. Lots of positives. Again, are the trade-offs too much of a negative for you? That's only up to you, up to you to decide. So,
Hmm.
as always, not your keys.
Not your cheese.
All right. See everyone next time. Thanks.